Okay, welcome to another edition of the Above the Bridge podcast. I'm your host, Thaddeus. First thing we want to do is shout out our sponsors. First, we have Defend Hawaii, and they have a store in Windward Mall called No One. If you go on their website, check out what they have, their latest drops for spring. If you go on their website, defendhawaii.com, when you use promo code ATBPOD upon checkout, you'll receive 15% off your entire purchase order. Go check them out. Next, we have IREP Detail Supply, and they have everything you need to detail your truck, car, whatever vehicle you have, waxes, polishes, whatever. Go check them out. They have a store in Temple Valley Shopping Center. Also, go to irepdetailsupply.com. Promo code ATBPOD upon checkout. You'll receive 15% off your entire purchase order. Next, we have Hawaii Candy Factory, and they have all these crazy snacks. You see their stuff everywhere. In cute packaging is called Noms. Go check them out, hawaiicandyfactory.com. Promo code ATBPOD upon checkout. You'll receive 10% off your entire purchase order. Last but not least, we have our Hawaii-based medical mushroom company. The company's name is Medicinal Mushrooms Hawaii. And if you go on their website, medmushroomhigh.com, you can see what they have on there. They have 4 different mushrooms. They extract it, put it in tinctures so it's easy to take. Can put it under your tongue or put it in your coffee in the morning. They have lion's mane, chaga, and turkey tail, and the newest one they have is red reishi. And I've been taking this for about a week, and I'll let you know that this has been giving me amazing sleep. I've been waking up well rested. I sleep through the night, and for me sometimes it's been hard, but after I've been taking this, it took about 3 days, and yeah, I've been getting amazing sleep, and I would recommend this if you have trouble sleeping or staying asleep. Check it out, but go to their website, medmushroomhigh.com. Use promo code ATBPOD upon checkout, all capitals. You'll receive 45% off your first tincture of mushrooms. So it could be for the lion's mane, red reishi, turkey tail, or the chaga. But go check them out. Promo code ATBPOD, all capital. 45% off your entire purchase order. Aloha. Okay, this week my guest is a Hawaii comedian, and you've seen him on Instagram, and he's been around the whole local comedy scene for a while. Jose Dynamite, what's up, man?
How you doing? It's good to be here. Thank you for inviting me on as a guest this week. It's
Yeah.
it's it's so cool, like talking to you out, before the show, realizing how close knit our circle of people that we actually know really is. Because your regular job as a nightclub promoter, and I've been doing radio advertising sales for nearly 20 some years now, and we've known a lot of the same people. I've worked with Flash and
Oh, yeah.
those guys for years. Used to do, like, whenever they do presents with the radio station over at Wave Waikiki, and then you were over at
Wait, we were at the W at that time, I think. Yeah.
were you at the W
We were
with
at W or Pipeline. When they were at Wave, we were at Pipeline, I think, or
okay.
Zanzibar. One of
And
those. Yeah.
well, Flash was the promo director for Wave for the longest
Yeah.
time, in addition to the stuff that he was doing with Maddie. And then when BAMP first launched, I was working with those guys,
Oh,
and then
man.
yeah, it's crazy. And then comedy just kind of sort of happened and took over my life. So yeah.
Yeah, Flash was at Wave for a while. I always loved the Wave. We always had a weird little saying like, if you don't meet a girl throughout the whole night, just end up at the Wave and guarantee you'll get one at the end of the
Oh,
night.
that was always the where the party ended at 4
Yeah.
a.m. was Wave, and then people would just go across the street to whatever the Hideaway bar. I forget the name. I think it was called the Hideaway Bar, and that was like
Yeah.
the after hours. And yeah, so that was. I never made it that far to the after hours. I always wanted to get home by 4 because it's that's a
Yeah.
that's a little bit even
Nothing good can happen after 4 unless you're
yeah,
eating
sleep,
dinner or
sleep,
eating. Yeah,
sleep
yeah.
and hangovers. That's usually what kind of happens at that time. Yeah.
We collaborated with Flash once on a Tuesday when he had a Pussycat Lounge. It was called Pussycat Lounge or something like that.
Yeah, he was doing Pussycat Lounge for the longest time, and so he was
Yeah,
he was the promo director for Wave, but his own promotion was Pussycat Productions. He was doing the Pussycat Lounge,
yeah,
and then so from working with Flash, we collaborated once when they were doing. You remember when the Republic they were doing the Iron comic or the Iron
yeah.
series? I like
Yes.
the
Yep.
so we collaborated with him to create the Bacardi Iron comic series and that tournament, which was really fun because I kind of helped them to produce that. And that year, Gerald Bonilla won the first and only time we did that. But that was
Oh,
fun. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. They did the Iron DJ and my Hanai brother, DJ Hoppa Boy won that one. They had different series. They had Iron Bartender. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, they did all kinds of things. Yeah.
Yeah. So comedy for you, how did that even start? Because Hawaii's kind of a hard place to start comedy, and it's kind of growing now, but back then it's wasn't too like it wasn't that busy with comedy, especially with local comics.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. Hawaii does have a good history of comedy, and I've talked about it on other podcasts as well. But like the at the time that I when I first moved to the island, Bula Ia was like the big comedian at the time, and Lanai, Augie, Hawaiian Ryan, Paulo Gata, those guys were still kind of coming up and being known. And I really got my start with Augie T and Sharky's Comedy Club around like 2004. And at the time, there was like a really big resurgence in local comedy at that time, where there are a lot of like open mics happening. The Brothers were in
Oh
town. There was
yeah.
Sharky's Comedy Club. Um, uh, what's that? Laugh Factory had a franchise out here at the time.
Oh wow.
Um, but that was it was a very short window when it was here. And then when Sharky's Comedy Club, they kind of bounced from a uh, different clubs around town. They first started out at All Star Cafe in Nike Town in 2004. Then they moved to the old Blue Tropics over on Kapahulu, and
Yeah,
then they
yeah.
moved to Panama Hattie's, which used to be a Players
Yeah,
Sports
yeah, yeah,
Bar.
yeah.
It's now Whiskey Dick's, and then they moved into Waikiki. And after they moved to Waikiki, they used to do an open mic, and they stopped doing the open mic. And at that point, they were around like 2007 or so. That's really when the comedy club scene that had open mics that fostered the environment for up and coming comedians just kind of went away at that time. And so we
Hmm.
were really depending on uh, there was a Shannon Winpenny who had she used to she was trained formally through Second City in Chicago. She opened up like an improv comedy club over on Bethel Street, but that was only open for a short period of time. And then I
Oh,
started Comedy U in like 2013 with my buddy Patrick, and we've been doing open mics, featured shows, and as well, and really trying to grow the comedy scene as much as we possibly can. And that's why and I really promote the living hell out of it, and that's one of the reasons why I have a lot of passion. Like we need more comedy out there, and meet more. Like I want to get more funny people to come out and get on stage and try it, because that's really the only way that we can really keep growing, because it's
yeah.
such a bastardized form of entertainment. Like people don't realize how hard like it's so weird. Like you have like you go watch a band perform at an open mic, and they start doing all these covers. They'll start like doing Bruno Mars covers, like singing to a T. Bam, next thing you know, he's going to get hired and have gigs up the wazoo. if some comedian shows up and starts doing George Carlin's jokes, the community like, nope, you can't do that. That's just a big taboo. So everything we
Yeah.
have to create is all organic, all from scratch. And we're always working on creating new material and like growing stuff. And it's not always funny when all the time. Sometimes it's like we'll get up, we'll say something, there'll be no laughs. It's like, okay, I just bombed or I just pissed off someone in the crowd because we're just like trying to experiment with something. So you never really know what's gonna happen. So yeah.
That's nuts because, like you said, comedy, you gotta try it out to see if it works, and if it doesn't, then it's kind of a awkward moment, especially if you're on stage. And I follow a bunch of comics that do podcasts. Brian Callen, um, couple of the guys that go on Joe Rogan's podcast, and they always talk about it. Like they always say they ate a bag of dicks, or it's like they bombed, or it. And I always wonder, like, how would that feel being up on stage and like you're pretty much putting yourself out there, and then for it to not work. I mean, you
Yeah.
gotta try it out, but like, oh, it must be. How do you like rebound after? Okay, I said a joke, nobody liked it. It's like, oh, you just gotta put that in the past and just keep going. Huh? It's not easy, I would imagine.
We say, oh, how does that feel? I can tell you, nobody gets off stage after bombing and says, wow, that felt really good. It feels horrible to bomb on stage, especially after you really rehearse something that really want to try, or you really believed is funny. You go up there and it's just crickets. It's just there is really no really good way to feel about it. Sometimes you just kind of you got to get in a mindset sometimes of just like you don't give a fuck. Sometimes
Yeah.
you just got to like not care, and you go up and just do it and just see whether or not it sticks or doesn't, just to kind of test the waters with it a little bit. And then if you are getting a good reaction, then a lot of times you'll just like take it back, rewrite it, workshop it a little bit, and see if you can add on there. Or if it kind of does okay, maybe you got to go back and just cut a bunch of the fluff out and kind of get to the meat and potatoes of it. So there is a process. Like a lot of people, if they're watching comedy and they've never been to a comedy club ever, you might have a lot of people think that it's like you are thinking of everything that you're saying off the top of your head right there, and it's like the exact opposite. It is very much a scripted art form for the most part, that you got to come up with these tight bits, unless you have the people that are doing a lot of crowd work, which is what you kind of see a lot from
Yeah.
of the videos that's out there. But a lot of that's put out there because a lot of the comedians don't want to burn their regular material that people are paying money to see, just for free on the online and on social
Yeah.
media.
That's true. So how did you actually start? Like you did an open mic and just was like, I'm gonna try this.
So yeah, that's kind of so. Back when I was in college, in '99, they had a talent showcase at my school at Chaminade University, and
Shout out to
and
the Silver Swords.
yeah, shout out to the Silver Swords. And I just decided like I was gonna try stand up, and I volunteered myself, wrote some jokes, got up there, and I completely bombed. And it was really tough because I thought I wrote some good stuff and I thought I would get some laughs, but it was complete crickets. And then I tried again in 2002, got up on stage 3 different times that year, and at an open mic, and that bomb. But then 2004, that's really, that's when I was working with Augie, at the radio station at the time. And he was doing his show every Wednesday over at Brew Moon, which is now like, I think it's called like Box Jellyfish or Jellyfish or something over it.
Yeah.
It's a
So
shared workspace over
yeah,
in
yeah.
Ward. and but it used to be a brewery. Every Wednesday night they would have shows there, and I just kind of asked him, "Hey, can I get on stage here?" And he's like, "Yeah, come on, I'll give you 3 minutes." And or he, I don't know if it was 3 minutes or 2 minutes. Uh, Whatever length of time he first gave me when I first started out, it must have been very long for people to watch me, because I think it was like about 6 months before I finally got a good laugh. But did it there, and then Sharky's Comedy Club had just started out doing their open mics, and I reached out to a friend of mine, Kathy Tanaka, who was just kind of starting out, and I asked, "Hey, how do I do this?" And she's the one that really got me coming out to the open mics. I got to meet the comedians that were doing the open mic circuit at the time, which there was maybe about like 8 comedians that were popping from place to place, and they kind of like sort of invited me like, "Hey, you need to come out," and told me like the different nights of the week and the different clubs that they're going to, and getting on stage. Because really, when you're starting out, one of the most important things that you do is just get on stage, just practice your material no matter where you go, and keep getting those reps and to kind of build your chops and fine tune your material. Because we got to practice somewhere, and you can't just practice in front of the mirror the whole time. You got to get up there and feel what it's like. And 2000, May 2004, that's when I say I really started my comedy career, because I started hitting the mics all the time and just became very dedicated. And then eventually Augie took me under his wing, and I got to be his opening act for 9 years, and that was really cool.
Now that I think of it, we did a promotion one time back in the day. It was at Aaron's on top.
Aaron's up in the top floor.
Yes, that was our
Yes.
event, Artist Group Network
Was,
with Ronnie.
okay.
Yep.
Yeah, with Ronnie, and we were
Yep.
working with
Peter Maharaja, Richie Aki. Yep. Yep.
Yeah, Richie Aki. So when we were working with, I was working with him over at the radio station. He was my coworker, and so I think that's one of the reasons why I never got to work with you guys, is that he was always your sales rep, and
Yeah.
then it
Yeah.
went yeah,
That
kind
was
of nuts.
Ronnie's guy at that time, because Ronnie was
Yeah,
running our company. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I remember that. We literally, me and my business partner Peter had to bring our go-go stages in the corner of Aaron's for you guys to stand on.
yeah, we were
And
standing on like 2 pallets. It was
yeah,
like the
yeah.
stage I've ever been in my entire life, and it's
That was our go-go boxes that our go-go dancers would dance on.
I'll tell you what, it's amazing to do terrible comedy with a great view.
Yeah.
But
It
yeah,
was,
no, I remember that was fun. It was me, Augie, and Timmy Matos was the
yeah.
other comic that was there at the time. So I think it was the 3 of us that were on stage at that one. Yeah. Holy
Yeah.
crap. Yeah, fun times, fun times.
Wow, that's a small world. So the comedy scene here in Hawaii, I know when I was growing up, it was kind of Andy Bumatai, Mel Kabang, and I was fortunate enough to go to Damien, where Frank De Lima came from. So he would practice his material in our cafeteria during our lunches. But I seen one of your clips on Instagram, and you mentioned Booga Booga,
Mhm.
and me and my sister Heidi, we had the VCR, the best of Booga Booga. And I memorized that whole thing. It was like my favorite. That one and raps. We had raps
Rap Spike.
Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was for me, that was like the start of my local comedy fandom, I would say.
Yeah. Well, so for the one of my back in the early 2000s, the girlfriend that I had took me to a local show, which was the first time that I ever watched Lanai and Augie, and I did not know what Augie was saying half the time, because his pigeon was so thick, and I was maybe like 6 years living on the island at that time, and so I had to keep turning to her like, "Hey, what did he say? What does this mean?" Like, because everyone's laughing, and I didn't really understand the joke, and she immediately after there, we went to the Blockbuster before we went home, and she rented Raps Hawaii, and she's like, you're gonna learn about local comedy." And so that was my education, was that. And then eventually, she showed me Andy Bumatai's All in the Ohana.
Oh
And so
yeah.
I really like, that's kind of how you really know like what the the style of comedy where it is like anywhere else on the mainland, they're like, oh wow, it's very racial. But it's
Yeah.
like, that's kind of that's the one thing that separates Hawaii, is that it's racial from an understanding of getting to know the different cultures and bringing the cultures together, as opposed to teasing the different cultures to keep them separated from and segregate them from like a place of trying to bring people down. Except of course the Portuguese, because the Portuguese was that used to be the guys in the Paniolo that were like the managers of the plantation. But that's really
Yeah.
the how how much the racial humor really is ingrained with us. And it's what I've always been told, and you'll hear other the local legends will tell you, like Frank de Lima and Augie say, it doesn't come from a place of hate. We're just
Yeah.
teasing other people, recognizing the other races and stuff. Plus everybody's mixed something out here,
Oh
so
yeah.
there's you can't get
Yeah.
offended on
Yeah, Frank didn't even tease everybody. Japanese, Chinese, Portuguese,
yeah,
Mahus, like everybody.
everybody, yeah,
Yeah.
everybody. And he was one of the ones that was like always, he would have a costume, you
Yes.
know, as part of his production and everything. So it's always great when you see him, and
Yeah.
he's still doing his shows over at with Augie over at the No Vacancies Comedy Club over in Pearl Ridge, that just opened up this
Oh
past
wow.
December.
I haven't even
Yeah,
heard of
so
that one.
yeah. So they've been, yeah, December they opened it up over. So the shows, it's kind of cool how they're doing it. They're just kind of wherever there's an open space in Pearl Ridge Mall, they'll do a pop-up show.
Oh,
That's where their venue. That's why it's called No Vacancies. And
I see.
their shows have been
That's
doing
cool.
really well. And so like the first place they were at was at the old Papaya store in Uptown Pearl Ridge, and
Oh,
then
okay.
they just moved last month, or this month, no, last month, because it's March now. So in February they moved over to the old Journeys in downtown
Oh, okay,
Pearl
okay.
Ridge. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's kind of a cool concept. Do they serve alcohol and stuff too, or is just
Um, I I I know that they were in Uptown because they had the liquor license. I think they're waiting to get their liquor license at the new establishment. So, but you can go there. You can bring food in from the mall and go
oh
eat,
wow.
enjoy the show, and it's a pretty good thing. And I've gotten to hop on stage and open for Augie when he's been there. He's invited me to come back there, which has been really cool to kind of go back to my kind of the roots of being able to open up for him again. It makes me feel like I'm a young comic again, because now I've been doing this like 20 years this year, and been running shows too. So I'm, for a lot of the up and coming comics, I'm like their comedy dad. So for
Yeah.
me to feel young again, it's kind of, it's refreshing for me.
So you mentioned that comedy you. What is that like? What is that all happening, and how'd you start that, and how can people jump on that?
So it started. So I was doing do you remember O'Toole's Irish pub?
Yes.
Um
Yeah.
so I after I decided after the ninth year that I wanted to try headlining, and so I created my own show over at O'Toole's on Friday nights, and they had a little back room over there, and it was very small, very intimate, separate from the bar, so it was very easy to, like, if people are coming to see comedy, they could come into a separate room that's like away from the rest of the noise. And that ended up being pretty successful. And the guys that owned the bar, they also owned Anna O'Brien's, and
Yeah.
they wanted me to move over there. And I said, nah, I'm not going to move. Maybe I'll start a new thing. And so that's really where the Comedy U concept came from, is like, because it's close to university. It's a
Mm.
bigger room. So I wanted to make it a room that could get more of the comedians an opportunity to get on stage. And so I wanted to keep it as an open mic and a featured show. And so that's really kind of where that started back in 2013 with my former business partner, Patrick Tyrell. we kind of started that one, and after a while, it started growing, catching momentum, and we would do occasional one-off shows in other locations as well, and kind of built that up, and we've been very dedicated to giving comedians the chance to get on stage. But we've also had comedians that are visiting from out of town that would be looking for stage time that would pop in at our shows and stuff. And so the word kind of really spread online and through social media about our shows. And I mean, we're still not anywhere close to where we would like to be, but we're doing pretty well. And after a long time of doing the shows, we've really kept a good reputation. And then during the pandemic, that's really when we saw a good amount of growth, because we were able to go into, because at the time all the bars were closed down.
Yeah.
Blue Note Hawaii was still open because they operate as a restaurant, and restaurants were able to be open, but they weren't able to bring in any bands or anything from the mainland. And I had reached out to them and told them, hey, let me do a weekly show over here. I'm going to just do comedy showcases where I'm not promoting one single guy. It'll just be promoting a show, and I'll have a bunch of different comedians. There's one person on stage. You don't have to worry about like a spread of any kind. If one of the guys gets sick, I'll switch them out with somebody else who's healthy, and we can keep the shows going. And you can make sure that your staff are working, and we'll keep the ticket price $10 so that it's not expensive for local people to come in there and have entertainment. And they said, okay, well, they'll give me 2 shows to test it out. We did it, and we completely sold out those shows, which the capacity was 25% at the time, so it's not too hard to
it's still a sellout.
But people, it showed that people were very hungry for entertainment, for us to come out and do something. And so in 2021, that's really when they for about almost a year, they gave me a show every single week at Blue Note to keep providing entertainment and keep getting the comedians on stage. And it's been a really big blessing for the local comedy scene, because it's really like it's a bigger stage that a lot of the comedians within the scene are really kind of looking up to work towards getting on that stage. And almost everyone requests, hey, can you get me on a Blue Note show? Which is now that all these other shows are back, it's not as easy to get those shows anymore. But it's nice that I still have a good working relationship with them, that we still do shows with them on a regular basis. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be performing there on March 13th and 27th, both those Wednesdays. Yeah.
So next week, is it next week Wednesday? Yeah,
next week Wednesday.
Yep.
And then the last Wednesday in March, I'll also be there. Me along with other local comedians are going to be on stage. It'll be fun.
And you're headlining it?
No, I'm not. I haven't really. It's been a long time since I've headlined. Like, to headline, you have to do about 40 minutes.
Yeah.
And I honestly don't feel like I have my material polished enough to feel comfortable doing a full 40-minute headlining set at Blue Note. I'd probably want to like headline in a smaller room a couple of times to warm up before I get to that point, because I want to make sure whatever I'm doing is like hits really hard. A lot of my focus is really building more of the scene in the other shows that I'm doing, as opposed to just focusing on myself as a performer and comedian. So that's kind of a challenging thing, but I want to see more comedians doing well. I want to see more local comedians really getting the recognition that I think that they really deserve of all the hard work we've been doing.
Yeah, and I think Hawaii people in general are funny people, and you could. I mean, I had maybe a handful of like just classmates throughout my years that I think could be good comedians. They had an opportunity.
My way.
Yeah, I know I should. I think that from social media and what Tamua was doing and stuff like that. I feel like the Hawaii comedy scene is having a small resurgence. I don't know if it feels that way on your end, but it seems way more showcase nowadays, and I see more things happening.
Yeah. I mean, there is a lot that's coming out here, and you know, there is another club that's opened up in Kaka'ako called Stand Up Honolulu that's owned by another promoter, and they opened their doors in May. Will be 2 years that they've been open. You also have comedians on Maui through the Power Up Comedy Club or Comedy Group. They do shows over in Kihei regularly. There's Pineapple's Comedy on the Big Island.
Oh wow.
There's Good Times Comedy Club over in Hilo. Hawaii Top Comics also in Kona. And so there's little pockets of areas in like the bigger like on every single island that's really starting to blow up. You know, we're still waiting on Kauai and Molokai and Lanai to kind of get there. But you know, you do see a lot of comedians there, and you do see a lot of like um, headliners from the mainland that are now even before the pandemic they started coming out, but since the pandemic they've really seen that, hey, Hawaii needs to be part of your national tour. And you've seen
Hmm.
guys like Hans Kim and Tony Hinchcliffe and
Yeah.
all those big name guys really start coming through and doing shows over at Blue Note. I mean, Blue Note comedy series is huge, where not only are they booking the local comedians, like they got Andy Bumatai, Frank Lima, and James Mane headlining shows coming up here pretty soon. They are bringing in like the Wayans brothers, and then they're
Yeah.
still working with us. So it's really cool that you see a lot. And for me, it helps that like we're putting it out there through social media, and people are sharing, and we have fans that have been very loyal that are coming out and supporting us, and that's really been a cool thing. And it's really awesome that Tumua still will occasionally come and pop in at our shows when he's working on some newer material, when he has some time and he's not on tour anywhere, and I think that's really something cool that he's still kind of, he comes back, that's part
Yeah.
of his roots. We're very blessed anytime he does come back, because I know he's always super busy with his schedule and everything, and plus he's got a baby on the way here pretty soon.
Yeah. I
So
just
yeah,
seen that.
that's gonna be
And a
yeah,
podcast.
and a podcast. So
Yeah.
he's going to be getting a lot of new material here pretty soon, I'm sure, with with him and Rachel growing their family,
Oh
and
yeah, for sure.
that's always awesome. Yeah, and for him, he's kind of like, he is really the big ambassador right now of local comedy, and he's the face of Hawaii comedy right now,
Yeah.
because there's local people all across the mainland that are coming out and supporting him whenever he does a show over there. I mean, that's one of the cool things, that like you see what Ian Tongi did on American Idol, and how local people this full force came out and voted for him to be, the winner. And
Yeah.
it's the same thing with Tamua. Local people everywhere are just flocking and selling out shows in the Midwest and Minneapolis and Chicago for him, and
Yeah.
all over the West Coast. And that's something really cool that he's been doing.
Yeah, that's super cool. I always wondered the comedian scene, not just locally, but is it more cutthroat or more welcoming, and the comedians help each other out, or it's like, okay, this guy's the new guy, we're gonna kind of haze him a little bit, or like is it kind of more welcoming for a person to try this out, or they're gonna have to run through the gauntlet?
So okay, so you're gonna have to. You're gonna have to run through the gauntlet a little bit.
Okay.
Everyone's got to pay their dues, and
Yes.
but I was actually talking with one of the comedians that started out here and moved to the I think it's in Wisconsin somewhere, and he was asking about like the culture of the scene, like if we're still very, because we're a very close knit community, and
Yeah.
I keep in touch with all the comedians, from, a lot of the ones that are, way established, like, Frank, Andy, Augie, and Tamua, all the way down to if it's somebody that's their very first time getting on stage, I'm going to get their information to be able to keep in touch with them and keep inviting them to come out to shows. And, I run workshops as well. And so my whole goal is, I want it to be a place where comedians want to be. I want it to be a friendly environment for the comedians to be able to get stage time. Because a lot of times it's a learning experience for a lot of the newer guys too. And I have always felt like that, that with when the tides rise, all the boats rise.
Yeah.
And if we're, if I'm looking at somebody and a comedian that's making it, and I'm like, oh, why don't I have what this person has? And I'm trying to bring them down. It's completely counterproductive to making comedy look good. It's like, I can see what he does. Like, okay, what has he been doing? What are the things that I can do to elevate my game to get to the next level? Because that's really what it's all about, is elevating your own game and really not comparing yourself to what other comedians are doing, but comparing yourself now on stage to what you were a week ago, to what you were a couple weeks ago. And just it's a very lonely place where you are the only individual on stage trying to make people laugh at that time. So it's, some people look at it as like you versus the audience. I always feel like it's you with the audience, because the audience wants you to win too. They want
Yeah.
you to they want you to entertain them. It's not like, sometimes an open mic will pop up in like a sports bar somewhere where there's a basketball game or something going on. And so you're competing against whatever the entertainment is that people
LeBron
came there for.
James.
Yeah. So it's like, for a comedy club, people come there and pay money to laugh. And so our
Yeah.
job is to make them laugh. And it's my job as a promoter to kind of foster that environment where I want to try and set up the comedians to be, the best that they can be. And there's some people that'll say I'm not very fair with the amount of time that I give people. It's like, there's some people that've been stuck doing 3 minutes for several years. And it's like, hey, I'm not going to give you 5 minutes or 7 minutes or 10 minutes if you can't make people laugh. And it's nothing against you personally.
Yeah.
It's the only way you're going to get better is if you're making the audience laugh. And I give you more time and the audience goes away, that doesn't help you at all. And it doesn't help the other comedians at all.
Yeah.
And it doesn't help the scene at all, because the only way we can grow is if there's an audience there to make us laugh. So I feel like this is very informative.
Yeah. It's
Not
something
really as funny.
I'm always interested in. I mean, I've been a fan of comedy, like growing up. Who was your inspirations to even start this? Like, who are the comics that you kind of checked out when you're growing up, and who is your favorites?
The very first comedian that I was ever introduced to was Bill Cosby.
Oh, that's not good. The
Very
pudding pop
talented
dude.
comedian, horrible
Yeah.
human being.
Yeah.
And so but like, he was the one that I really, was first introduced to his comedy, his style of storytelling. And then, back when I was in college, Dane Cook was the guy that was really
Oh,
big.
yeah.
So it was like, I was watching Dane Cook, I was watching David Tell, I was watching Mitch Hedberg,
Oh, Mitch
and
Hedberg.
like
That guy's
Brian.
funny. Yeah.
And so those were the guys that I was really, I really kind of idolized, and Jim Gaffigan, and then Augie T, because he took me under his wing, and like, the audience that I was performing to was the local crowd. So I was like, okay, trying to find my voice through to his crowd as somebody that is, Haole from the mainland that's living in Hawaii. Like, how do I represent myself this way and be funny? And it took a while for me to find, my true voice of who I am. And I sometimes I feel like, okay, I'm still trying to kind of find my voice a little bit. I'm very comfortable with myself on stage, but when I was starting out, I was over at Borders bookstore looking through the spoken word section, and buying comedy CDs of like every single comedian I could get, just so I could listen to them, study them, hear how they're telling their setups and punchlines and what's the difference in their styles, and really trying to um, emulate what was working for them, until I found what voice worked for me and my own style. So it's like, it's like a musician where they're like, oh, they're influenced by this person, that, these
Yeah.
different musicians, but eventually they find their own style that's unique to who they are. And that's kind of what I did as my studying, growing up, in the I say growing up, I was like 26 at the time, but you know
Yo. Yeah, I remember getting in trouble for watching Delirious on the we had one of those cable boxes, a scrambler. And
oh
then
yeah.
like, my dad caught me watching that. He's, what is this filth? And, like, yeah, I was an Eddie Murphy fan, just like every other boy that was growing up. But
Oh yeah.
if you had to pick, if you could pick one comic to come to Hawaii so that you'd want to see as a fan, who would it be?
Oh wow. Okay, so one comedian that I would love to see come to Hawaii as a fan, um, Dusty Slay. Dusty
Okay,
Slay
I haven't
is
even heard of that guy.
so he's new. I don't he's not new. He just had a Netflix special just
Okay.
come out, like last month, called Working Man, and he's like a southern. I think he's from Tennessee, or he's big in Nashville. He does all clean comedy, and after I watched his special, it just cracked me up so much. Um, and I say him because there's been a lot of great comedians that have come out here that I've already gotten to see. I've already gotten to see
Yeah.
Bill Burr out here, and
Yeah.
worked with Jim Gaffigan and these other guys. So like Dusty Slay is one that I would really love to see out here. Um, I've seen Lewis Black many times, and I would love to
Yeah.
see him out here again. He's
I
one
would
that
watch
was
that.
another one that I really idolized, his style of just being a ball of rage on stage, just like, wow, this is like controlled anger, and
Like
it's
Sam Kinison.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
I I was starting to become a fan of Matt Rife,
Uh-huh.
and he came out here and I was so bummed out. This was I was pissed. He came out the week that I went to Chicago for my daughter's volleyball tournament. And
Oh,
then his manager hit me up to book him bottle service at my event on Friday at District. And I wasn't even there. And I was like, this weekend, this is gonna happen. Like, I'm missing his show, and then he's coming to hang out at my event. Like, I was pissed, bro. And then
oh
like
man.
my friends and all got pictures with him and all this stuff. I'm like, right on, bro. That's cool.
Oh man, that's the ultimate FOMO right there.
Yeah,
The ultimate fear of.
exactly.
I hope your daughter won the volleyball tournament. You're like, you better
Nope,
win.
they didn't. Yeah, it was horrible.
Uh, man, that's luck right there, I tell you.
Yeah.
So who are some other comedians that you really like? I know you said Eddie Murphy, and like Matt Rife. Who are some other comics that you've
For
seen
me,
recently that you really dig?
recently, of course, Kevin Hart. I went to see Joe Coy. I It was cool. I seen Joe Coy like make his way up. I seen when he first came to Pipeline, and there was hardly anybody there. And then the next time I seen him, he was at the Republic, which was pretty packed. Then the next time I seen him, it was at the concert hall at Blaisdell. And then the last time I seen him, he sold out the arena. So I'm like, hey, I seen him do it all.
Yeah.
And then I liked Cat Williams. I like Brian Callen. I like his he's a smart person. So it comes
Uh,
out in his comedy, and he's very animated.
yeah.
I like that. Oh, I liked Penn and Teller a lot. when I was back
I've
in the
never
day.
I've never seen, like, I've only seen like small clips of them. I've never been to their show in Vegas
Oh,
to see what it's like, but that's a really good example of like how sometimes you don't even need to say anything
yeah.
and you can get a laugh. Like you could just be quiet in the moment, and like 90% of communication is nonverbal, and so you can be funny without saying anything. And and a lot of times you'll see comedians that working at an open mic and they're just telling their stories and they're standing still, just saying their words. But then when they start moving around and
Yeah.
facial expression, like, whoo, it takes it to the up a
Yeah.
notch. And
Kevin
that,
Hart is about the facial expressions and all that, sells his comedy more.
oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
it's that's definitely like one of the things that people, when I like the guys that are really have a lot of energy. And then there are some comedians that are just completely deadpan, low energy, like Stephen Wright, for example. He's just deadpan, one-liners, zero energy, and it's all about just the way that he writes the jokes. And Kirk Fox is another one that he's a big one-liner comedian as well, and just very hilarious. Just that style is, and that's the cool thing about comedy, is that there's so many different styles and genres within comedy that will, there's something for everyone with what we do, and that's something that's so cool.
Yeah. And with social media now, it's becoming super popular. A lot of people are getting to see comics they would have no idea even exists. And yeah, like my friend sends me all a bunch of like reels all day, and a lot of it is comedians. And oh, some of these guys are hilarious. Like it has me
Send
dying at
send some
work.
my way.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'll
send some
definitely
to
do
me.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, send me an occasional reel. I'd love to see something.
Okay.
It's funny because like I get, you have comedians that will, they'll boost a post,
Yeah.
and I know like what the algorithm is, like if they're just boosting it to people who like comedy or if it's certain zip codes. And so there'll be random comedians that are just like, just pop up in my feed because it's like a sponsored post. And I'm like, I'll watch it,
Oh,
like, oh, this dude's pretty funny. I've never heard of him. And like that's a really cool thing about like the types of shows that I put on. And like even like you go to other comedy clubs on the mainland, just go there just to see what, even if you don't know, like, you're saying all these names that people know, like Cat Williams
yeah.
and Joe Coy and Kevin Hart. Everybody knows who they are, but there are other comedians that aren't at that level that, in my opinion, are way funnier because they are trying to get to that level. And the only way they
Yeah.
can get to that level is to slay every single time they're on stage. A great example of that is this guy, Sam Talent. Look him up. He just had a YouTube special that came out. And every 5 seconds, I swear to God, I was laughing hard every 5 seconds. And he's been out here many times. I got to work with him on several occasions. He was a Just for Laughs new, like when he was just starting out, he was like one of the fresh faces of comedy several years ago. And he destroys every single time he goes on stage, but he doesn't have that same type of recognition that Kevin Hart,
Yeah. Yeah.
and Joe Quick, they haven't been in the movies, they aren't in selling out the arenas yet, but you see him, you're like, oh, I guarantee you will be in. As a matter of fact, I'm going to share his clip with you after. I'm going to text it to you so
Yes,
you know exactly
definitely do that.
like you
I'm
can be like,
always
oh
down to find out some new comedians. I'm always down for that kind of stuff. Yeah.
yeah,
So
cool, cool.
you're kind of a content creator on social media, and I noticed you've been using your cat a lot. And I'm a cat dad. Your cat's
Okay.
shaved though. That thing, it looks crazy.
She's not shaved. She's my she came that way. My spirit animal is my actual animal. We're both bald. But no, she's a Sphinx cat. She was actually, she's kind of a rescue in a
Oh,
sense, in
okay.
that because my daughter bought a Sphinx cat when she was when it was a kitten, and she joined like a Facebook group of Sphinx cat owners and found this breeder on the Big Island that had a cat that was looking to rehome and give it away to someone for free. And so my daughter offered to take her, and that ended up being Xena. And so my daughter had two Sphinx cats. Then my daughter got pregnant, and when you're pregnant and you can't, be around the litter or anything, it was just two cats were too much, so they needed to rehome Xena. She was asking, lots of friends of the family. No one would take her in. I finally said, you know what? I'll take her in, and give her a home. That way I'll keep her in the family. And man, that changed my life completely. I take her everywhere with me. She's on a leash. As a matter of fact, I realized the other day, I just need $4 million, so that I don't ever have to work again. I can just hang out with my cat all day long and just be
Just
cool.
four.
Yeah, just 4 million. Like I just pay bills, hang out with my cat. And my girlfriend heard me tell that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll hang out with you too. Like we can hang out. You can hang out. You can be there too. Yeah, you're cool. But yeah, I just created an Instagram page for my cat because I know that there's people love cat videos, and she's been growing a bit, and I just thought, this would be fun, just like share some of her content, some of the things that she does when people don't usually see a cat walking around on a leash, let alone a hairless cat,
Yeah.
wearing octopus costume. But
That's what I was gonna ask you about.
yeah, yeah.
I try to
She's
put
got
a I try to put this helmet on my cat for the Super Bowl, and that was not working.
oh wow, what kind of cat do you have?
We have I'm not even sure. It was a stray that we got, and we had him for about 3 years, and I have never had a cat, never had any interaction with a cat, and love, bro. I love this thing. I'm so happy that we have him. Like he loves me more than my daughter, my girlfriend. Like he'll come by me and lay on top of me and purr, and I'm petting him. He won't do that for anybody else. And
Yeah,
like it's so special. Like I come home at night from work or whatever, and like that is like like I'm excited for that at the end of the night. Like, oh yeah, his name is Aka. He's gonna come lay down next to me. Yeah, it means shadow in Hawaiian, and it's yeah, he's that, like how you said, your spirit animal. Like I'm year the tiger. I don't know if there's a relation, but yeah, I've been so happy.
was he named Aka before? When you first got him, or was it like after you realized that he is like your shadow?
Yeah, after yeah, couple days, but we
That's
thought he
it.
was a girl, and then
Oh,
we
really?
found out he was a boy.
You finally took him to the vet and like, oh,
Yeah,
no, this is a girl. It's not a boy. Are you kidding me? Oh yeah,
yeah,
yeah. It's funny. Yeah. So it's weird because like we have, in addition to my Xena, we have three other cats in the house, and
oh
so when
wow.
my girlfriend she'll come home from work, you hear the gate that opens up, and all of a sudden all the cats just end up at the front door, and she's like, can you come help? And so I got to go over there and like herd them all away. When I was living at my old apartment in downtown, I was on a three-story walk up. As soon as I pull into my parking spot, I would hear my cat, just saying hi to me, and I'd call back,
Yeah,
hi. She's meowing and just waiting for me at the window. And people don't realize like how much personalities
they
cats
do.
actually have, and like they're independent, but they're just so loving, and
Yep.
they're very friendly, and just some of them are very quirky than others. Then you have some lazy cats that just kind of like lounge around and do nothing. But
Do your
yeah.
cats have what they call the zoomies?
Um, yes, on occasion. So, we have a ginger cat named Moon, and he's the youngest of all the cats, and he is super super active, and he always wants to wrestle with the other cats, and he'll start playing with the. So he'll be the one that like occasionally wrestles with all the other cats. And when I first brought Xena into the house with the other three cats, she hated all the cats except for Moon. But like he kept going up to her regardless if she'd hiss at him and like keep sniffing her, and until she finally realized like, okay, he's harmless, he's cool. She'll still hiss at the other cats, the other two brothers, but he's like, she's cool with him. But he gets the zoomies occasionally, but not, luckily not too often, and not like in the middle of the night where he's waking us up like a moron. Yeah.
Yeah, that
Unless
mine
we have
does that.
laser point. Yeah,
Oh
we get
yeah.
the laser point, and then all the cats will go nuts for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
My daughter will do that. She'll get them all riled up and then, okay, go good night. I'm like, but you just got him all nuts. No, you just leave
Yeah.
him in here.
That's me. I'll do that. I'll get the cats worked up, and then they'll chase each other around and stuff. So it's funny, like the things that you can just bring home a box, and like, okay, that's it. Like we go shopping at Sam's Club, and you bring the groceries, all end up carrying the box. Like, okay, here's your new toy for the next day until I gotta take it out for recycling. They'll all take turns just sitting in a box. Like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like, don't need to spend all the money at the in toys. It's like, hey, here's a box. And
Oh
like,
yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
Ross's, where we get all these, like even just on my floor, Ross's, we get like a whole bunch of weird stuff laying around, and like it's cheap, and they'll play that with that thing for hours, and then they'll be over it and never play with it again.
So the thing for me, my Achilles heel is finding cute outfits, because I love dressing her up, and and so that the type of breed that they are, like, because they don't have any fur, they tend to get cold, so they're used to wearing shirts and dresses and just having things put on them so that they'll be warm. So that's why she doesn't put up a huge fuss wearing like a stupid octopus costume or dressing up like a bumblebee. So I could take her out there, and like people like, oh my god, can I take a picture of your cat? I'm like, yeah, sure. Tag her on Instagram, and I'll give them like a business card of her Instagram.
Yeah, you're promoting it.
And then when I like, and then in the profile is like my Instagram, like, oh, by the way, you can follow me, I'm a comedian, and then go follow comedy unit.hi. So
yeah,
I'm like the drug dealer, selling like, here's a free sample, and like, okay, go follow these ones. And
here's a cute cat, and then here's the real business.
Yeah. You can follow me for comedy, but if you don't want to follow me, follow my cat. Like, okay, we'll follow your cat. Like, okay, that's cool. So it's something. Yeah. So like, yeah, so a lot of the content that I'm creating, I spend a lot of time with my cat. I'm trying to create more of my stand-up comedy videos, or maybe even do a little bit of tutorials. It's kind of hard with doing 2 weekly shows, because I'm trying to focus on everyone, and then all the bookings and stuff. But it's like I said, it's not always about what I do. By the way, on March 19th and 20th, we are doing a comedy tournament called the Laugh Madness Comedy Tournament. So it's going to start off on Tuesday, the 19th, with up to 30 comedians.
Oh wow!
I said 30 comedians. They're all going to do 5-minute sets, and the top 16 are going to advance to a bracket, which is going to take place the next day, and we're going to whittle it down to one final winner, and that winner is going to win $250 cash, get to open up for a touring comedian, do a feature show at Blue Note, and then their own headline show, plus a pair of Nike Pandas from curated Hawaii. So yeah, so you're gonna come check that out.
Where's it gonna be at?
So Tuesday is going to be at the Slack Key Lounge at Hawaiian Brian's.
Okay.
And then the finals on Wednesday is going to be at Anna O'Brien's. And I usually do about 3 tournaments a year. Okay. And the format that I like to do with the 16 comedians is they're going head to head. Round 1, all 16 get 2 minutes, and judges are going to score. Whoever has the highest score advances.
Who's judging? Sorry.
I I never announce who's judging.
Okay,
I
okay.
never announce. I never
That's probably
announce the
smart.
judges.
That's probably smart.
I don't want the comedians to like kind of kiss up to anyone or know like any intel. It's I always just tell them, just bring your best material. Whoever is judging, I want you to make my judges job super hard. I want it to be difficult for them to decide who's going to advance and who's not. If you're making it easy for them, it's not. You got some work to do. But
Yeah.
that's what I love about it is you'll see a good sample of like 30 comedians bringing their best material, and so it's a chance for the people that do come out like, oh wow, they really see there are a lot of talented comedians out here. And in fact, I have like two guys from Maui that joined the tournament that are coming over, and so yeah, that's something else I'm looking
Oh, that's
forward
super
to. So
cool.
it's gonna be
Maybe
fun.
I'll
Yeah,
come
yeah.
check that out. That'd be kind of fun. See some up and
You,
comers trying to do their thing.
yeah, you should. And bring your family, your sister and your brother-in-law.
Oh
So
yeah, you know my sister and brother-in-law. You told me you had some stories about my sister. My sister Heidi is one of the funnest people I've ever known in life. She is like I always say she's the life of any and every party she's at.
yeah, so I Heidi was one of the first people that I met when I came out here to Hawaii. When I say one of the first, I mean out of like first 100. But we were at Shamrad at the exact same time. So she was a classmate of mine, and I had my sophomore year. That's really when I got to know her. I had a car on campus, and so she was working at Hibiscus Club,
Yep.
and so she needed rides to work, and so I would drive her. I'd give her a ride there, and I don't remember if I would pick her up and bring her home or if she was catching a cab there. But so many times I would drive her there, and over the years, she's one of the few alumni that I've been able to keep close contact with. And one of the reasons why is through your brother-in-law. With Rick was very
Yeah.
busy with, he was producing he was the manager for Go Jimmy Go, and so I'd
Yep.
go to those
Yep.
shows all the time. So I would always run into Heidi all the time, and so a few years ago, Heidi reached out to me and she was like, "Hey, Jose, did you did you see that Mario was on an episode of To Catch a Predator?" I was like, "No way. Mario's a pedophile?" She's like, "No, it was the Las Vegas edition. Mario is a pimp." And I was like, "Oh my God." So little backstory on Mario. Mario was a basketball player. He was there our freshman year. And he was one of the best players on the team, but had a massive ego. Like he was a baller, but like a coach's worst nightmare because this dude was just completely uncoachable, just raw talent, 100% ego. And he thought he was the best player, and he was the best player. But when you have that mentality, like I'm the best, it doesn't work out because you're a part of the
Yeah.
team, right? And so he was always like I don't know if he was always hitting on Heidi or what, but like, you know, he was there. And so so she's like, yeah. And so I used to tutor Mario in economics and so all the time I'd be trying to teach him like about, supply and demand. And he didn't give a shit. He just cared about basketball and his scholarship, and he thought he was going to go pro. And like, so he could never focus anything on economics. So when she finally says, Mario is a pimp, I had to go like, oh my God, let me go on YouTube, look it up. And it's like, now he's like talking about like, no, Chris Hansen, I'm not a pimp. I'm an entertainer because there's a great supply of entertainment needed. And I got the demand. I'm just like, holy crap, I didn't teach him this when I tutored economics. Like, but yeah, so I tutored allegedly, or I tutored an alleged pimp in
How to run his
economics. So
business.
yeah, from a Catholic university. So there we go. Yeah, so
That's true.
yeah, so that's the funny story about your sister is that she's the one that told me about our classmate Mario, because I think he lived right across the hall from her in
Okay.
her dorm. her freshman year. So yeah, she can watch this. She can verify or tell you where I'm factually incorrect here with this story. But
That's
yeah,
hilarious.
and matter of fact,
Small world.
one of the last, this is a small world. I did a show with Augie on Guam maybe about like 4 years ago, like something like that. And the hotel that we were staying at, like Rick was doing some construction project work over there, and I just so happened, just like, we got in the elevator at the exact same time, and she was going up to the spa, and we were going up to our room. I'm like, what are you doing here? I'm like, I'm here for comedy. What are you doing here? She's like, oh, Rick's doing he's got a project over here, so I'm just hanging out here for a couple of weeks. Like, oh wow, that's so crazy. So
That's super
yeah,
cool.
so funny that we occasionally get to, like, our paths still cross on occasion. So it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's really cool. Yeah, your sister's she's always fun to be around. Yeah,
Yeah,
just a little
definitely.
tiny spark plug of energy.
Oh, big time. Yeah, we were just at the Nickelback concert this past Friday, and she's Heidi being Heidi. It was fun, man. And she's like, yeah, she's a lot of fun. I love being her brother. And like I said, I'm the party promoter. I promote all the parties, but anywhere she goes, she's the life of every single party.
I feel like I'm very lucky that I never got to feel her Korean wrath come out. Like,
Oh yeah.
I'm sure
Yeah.
she got her occasionally, like, ooh, get hot
This
blooded.
yeah, she can, but it hardly ever comes out. Like, maybe to me, but yeah, I have it too though, so it's not a good look. That's cool. Yeah, I was tripping that once you said Shamanat and the years, I was like, oh, you might know her, and sure enough, I remember her roommate. We were helping her move into the dorms,
Uh-huh.
and her roommate was this hot chick for the mainland, and she ended up being on the um hypnotized video for big big papa. What was her name? Genevieve, something like that. I can't remember her name.
Genevieve. She's a Korean girl from Portland.
I
No.
don't know, maybe I know she's Asian, but if you look on the if big papa hypnotized video, she's on the boat with Puff Daddy, and
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah,
I was
I
like,
didn't know that one. I remember
yeah.
we had one girl at my that the years that I was there, like, ended up being in one of the Playboys, the college girls
Oh,
edition. Yeah. It was like, I remember, like, going out and, like, getting the magazine, and then, like, my girlfriend at the time, like, who knew her, she's like, why would you get this? I'm like, because we know her. She's like, no, it's
I
not
want to
like
get it
that. I'm like, I'm
signed.
just trying to support. Like, no, you're trying to see what she looks like naked. I'm like, no, that's not it at all. She just is naked, and nude ain't rude.
She just
Yeah.
happens
So,
to be.
yeah, exactly.
That's super funny.
Yeah, crazy, crazy.
Well, we've been going on for an hour. I am so impressed with how much you've been doing with this Hawaii comedy scene. I didn't know it was growing to this level, and I just seen that Chris Styles did one of your it was the comedy awards.
Yeah. So he hosted the comedy awards for us. He hosted the last tournament that I did, the Fall Down Funny tournament. He's actually going to host the next tournament that we have coming up, and
Okay.
hopefully, I'm planning to do a roast battle on April 3rd. No, April 2nd. April 2nd, I'm going to be doing a roast battle, which is a Tuesday night over at the Slack K Lounge. And I didn't talk to Chris to find out if he can host that, but hopefully he's going to be there and host that. So I'm trying to work with him more. The comedians all loved him as
Oh
a
yeah.
host. He did such a fantastic job. And obviously, roast battle, him being, angry locals, he knows
Yeah.
how to, do some shit talking. It's just going to be
Yeah.
right up his alley. So, that's really one of the ways that you got to keep growing this, is like, doing things that's involving the, you know, the radio and the advertising, get some people out there that are on the air that can help promote us even further. And you know, and you, I appreciate you inviting me to be a guest
Yeah.
on this podcast, because it's the whole thing is like, if one of your friends sees this and says, hey, I think I'm funny, I want to come out to an open mic, that's a huge win for me, because you know,
Yeah.
it's about growing the audience, but it's also about, we need more people to come out and try it, because there's a lot of, like you said, you have a lot of funny friends, there's a lot of funny local
Yes.
people that they can get up and they can tell funny stories and make people laugh, and they might realize, hey, I really enjoy doing this, I think I want to kind of pursue this. You know, that's what happened with Tumua. He was taking a stand-up comedy class at UH. You know, he came to our open mic, and the very first time he got up on stage, I saw him and I was like, hey, I want you to come to my show on Friday. I want you to do the exact same 3 minutes you just did, the exact same way, and open up for me. And he did. And like, just progressively just started getting more time, like very quickly. He's been very, like very dedicated with, like, it didn't just happen overnight. It took a lot of
Yeah.
work working on writing material, but he's one of those guys that, like, he is truly like he's the first graduate of Comedy U, I like to say, because he really made it big. He's been selling out, you know, he sold out the Blaisdell Arena and touring all over, and he's the comedian that got his start on our stage. And I couldn't be prouder of the success that he's had. And I there's no way I take any credit for it, except for the fact that I have this opportunity for people by offering the stage time. And if there's people that are, you know, there's a lot of people that are content creators that make funny videos. And if you want to like elevate your game or get into like doing stand up, we have that place. So anybody that watches this, you think you're
Let's
funny,
go.
follow us at comedyu.hi, hit us a message, and come out to an open mic, or just come watch one of our shows and see if this is something you want to do, because we got room for you.
I think I got a couple guys in mind I might try bring to one of these shows, and because I know a few of them mentioned that they wanted to try it. So now that I know that there's a avenue and there's a chance for them to try it, maybe if I brought them, they could get
See, that's
enough
what
courage
you
to
gotta
do
do.
it.
You gotta tell them,
Yeah.
like, hey, that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna get you some tickets to a show. Bring your friends. Don't even tell them we're signing them up, right?
Yeah.
And we'll
Oh,
put their names. We'll put their names down on the list, one after the other. They'll get 3 minutes of stage time. If they don't do three, they do like 1 minute or 2 minutes, whatever. We'll like one after another. Just bring them up and like.
oh, they might hit me. Hey, I'll make them do it though.
Yeah,
That's
that'll
funny.
be. But you gotta go up there too. You gotta go up there too. I'm
Oh,
like,
I
okay.
I think I could have a minute, maybe. I don't know. I'll try it. I'll try. I would have to take a bunch of shots first, but
No,
it's funny.
that'll be fun. Like we had like a couple of weeks ago, we did a show. We did an all women's open mic night, and it was all women comedians that were allowed on stage. But by chance, we just had some random person show up that wanted to sign up, and it was a guy, and he had 20 of his friends that showed up there to see him. So I was like, okay, I'm not going to deny this guy.
Yeah.
It was like the most rowdiest crowd ever, because these are all firefighters, right, that were watching him. And I found out that what happened was, he had lost. He came in last place in his fantasy
That is
football league for the firefighters, and his punishment was having to go on stage. And so they weren't there to see a comedy show. They were there just to watch him bomb and eat shit on stage. And so it's funny
that's
because like the people that were there, they didn't really understand, like, oh, you can't be talking during the show and heckling. They thought it was all part of it. And we like, there's like just frustrating the living hell out of every single comedian that's going on, until I got up there and like had to explain to them, like, listen, these people, these comedians, we're working hard. So if you want to see him, he's supposed to go last because he's the only guy in an all girls lineup. But if you guys only came to see him and you're going to be talking, I'm going to put him on first. But the deal is, after he goes on stage, you guys all got to leave because everyone else needs to work. And
Yeah.
is that a deal? And they're like, okay. So I put him on. Half the people leave, but then afterwards downstairs, like all those people that they were friends with, like they were coming up to us and like really apologizing, like for their
Yeah.
behavior, because they didn't realize, like, hey, they thought it was something else as opposed to what it actually, like when you go to a club, you gotta be, you see all the crowd work videos all the
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
and so people think that's what it is, when in actuality, the comedian, if they're doing their setup and doing their joke, they want to rehearse what they're working on, and if they're
Yeah.
not going in a crowd work direction, then it's just heckling, and it's so hard to handle. It's easy to handle one heckler, but when you have like 20 people talking the whole time, it's just like
Yeah.
it's like the worst nightmare. It's like the worst show, and you can't kick everybody out because it's like
Yeah.
then there's no audience. So it's just like, oh fuck, okay, like that's how you kind of have to handle it. But you show up, you got to show up, be polite, be quiet during this show, don't talk during the show, and enjoy what's being presented, and laugh if they're funny, don't laugh if they're not funny.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Maybe
please bring your friends. You're gonna
I
sign
think,
up.
yeah, I think I got. I don't know if I'll sign them up, but maybe, yeah, that'd be kind of fun. They might be super pissed, but that'd be even more funny. I
or
I
or even like,
didn't I didn't know your show and that opportunity was the one Tamua got his start on, because I had him on my podcast, and he told me about those moments where he started. I didn't know it was you're the one that got him to go up there for those first couple open mics, and that's, like you said, it pretty much got his career started. That's kind of
well,
cool.
he just kind of he's some, like, the guy that was running the comedy courses at was a comedian that was part of the open mics, and he was telling these guys, like, you need to go to the open mics and sign up. And so there were a handful of small mics here and there, and so he just happened to, ours was the first one that he got up on stage. I mean, it was right by so I think that's probably why it was so easy. Like, oh, Comedy University, is this like a class or something, and so yeah. So but I mean, there's also like King's Pizza over on Kapalulu. They've been doing an open mic for
Oh,
just about as long, and that's like a very small room where it's pretty much all comedians go out and support that. So that's like on a Friday night, you'll go there. That's where a lot of comedians are. And you know kind of like when I was starting out, there were just some obscure stages that, I remember one point where my first year, I decided to start my own little open mic that four of us comedians went to, and eventually got fired from there, which, it's funny when you get fired from a place that you don't even get paid to work, like, no, we don't want you on stage anymore. And but it's like, but that kind of happens. That's the trial with comedy, is like, you'll have places that just pop up, people go into a coffee shop, and you never know like where there's going to be. But for us, we just want to make it like a comedy club style environment where
yeah.
I'm hopefully training the comedians for what you're going to expect if you go to the mainland and you go to the Comedy Store or Laugh Factory, and like working the light, tightening your material up, and really get a tight 3 minutes, so that when you go to the mainland, you're representing Hawaii in a positive way, or that you're ready to like go do bigger shows over there. So that's my whole thing. So you should show up. What we've had people do, and they show up with their friends, and like in the middle of the open mic, they're like, "Oh, dude, we should sign up," and then they show up, like they sign up in the middle. So
Okay.
that's a,
Okay.
that's the strategy. You don't sign up when you first get there. In the middle, like, "Oh, bro, let's all sign up. Let's all do
Let
it." And then
let him get. Okay. That would be. Oh yeah, it would take a bunch of shots for me to get up there, but I'd be down.
We don't want to. You don't want to be drunk when you go out there.
Yeah.
You don't want the
Just
first time to be
a
drunk.
little bit enough to get that liquid courage started, and then I could do it, I think.
Get the liquid courage, get it ready, and
Yeah.
then when you get up, you're like, oh fuck, this is bright. Lights are bright. I can't see nothing. Yeah, that's why we wanted
That's
to see
crazy.
you. So yeah.
Maybe that might be kind of cool. Well, like I said, you're on social media. Where can people find you and get all this information?
So follow us at comedyu.hi. That's the overall promotional company that I run, and that way you can find out all the different comedians that when they're going to be performing. I'm really pushing the Comedy U Scoops channel in Instagram, so please join that way. You get the messages like when we have a new show announced, it'll be sent directly to your inbox. You can follow me at Jose Dynamite. And you can follow my cat at Xena.the.sphinx. If you want to follow my cat, just go to comedyu.hi, follow it, come to our shows, and come see me at Blue Note on March 13th and 27th. And guarantee we'll make you laugh. We got every single lineup has a different lineup of local comedians. You will never see the exact same lineup from one show to a next. So you'll always get a good sample, and you can find maybe you don't like me, but you like somebody else that was on the show, or follow them and go support them, because supporting local comedy just supports the whole scene, and that's really what we need and all the exposure. So Thaddeus, thank you for letting me be a guest on your show today.
Yeah, right on, bro. I probably talk to you more for hours, even on just cats.
Oh yeah. Do
Yeah,
you have a leash and a harness for your cat yet?
I do, and I also make him swim. Well, not make him, but he loves the ocean. He swims.
Your cat swims?
My
No way.
cat swims. I'll show you videos, bro. He swims back and forth. It's crazy. Like he loves the
Okay.
ocean. Yeah,
Do,
yeah.
do you take him surfing? Is he the cat on your surfboard, or do you have
I
like
put him on the bodyboard and let him
okay?
like kind of, but then like he'll jump in the water and start swimming, and he'll swim to my girlfriend, then he'll turn around and swim back to me, and I'm
Does
just
he have
like,
a life jacket they sell at Petco?
no,
No.
he don't sink. He goes like a dog.
Oh shit. Okay.
It's
Did you
crazy.
have you seen the life jackets? Did you like
I
ever go to
have
like
it.
see it?
I have it.
Yeah. So at Petco they have the life jackets. So if you I know you're Kaneohe, so if you go out to like the
Yeah, yeah.
sandbar, he can take him out to the and he can have some beers with you and like float around. Nah.
Yep, that might be cool. Sandbar would work, huh? But that,
Yeah.
yeah, he's different, bro. He loves the ocean, and we brought him there when he was a kitten, so I think maybe that's why. But yeah, he'll swim, and everybody on the beach wants to take pictures with him, and like he's swimming, he's at the beach. It's cool, and
Does he have
yeah,
an
he's
Instagram page too? Because I
no, but
follow him.
now that you talk about yours, like I might fanboy and put one up on for him and see what kind of
Oh yeah, I'll follow that. I'll like his
yeah.
videos. Yeah, I've always wanted to I've always wondered how, because I give my cat a bath like once or twice a week. She gets a bath,
Oh, okay.
and like she doesn't particularly like the water, but she doesn't mind it. And I've always wanted to take her to the ocean, but because she's all bare skin. Like I'm like,
Oh yeah.
she'll get sunburned, so I can't really take her out
Yeah.
in sunlight. I'm too scared to do that, and so, but I've always thought about that. But we have our ginger cat. He used to stand in the shower. He'd like take a shower and just like look up and drink the water from there. He's so weird. So he'll go in. He cries to go in the shower before anyone goes into the shower. He's a weirdo. So yeah. So comedy and cats, love it.
Right on. Okay, and for us always, you can find us at Above the Bridge Podcast on Instagram, Above the Bridge Podcast on our YouTube channel, atbpod.com is our website, and you can find me, my personal Instagram, at Thaddy Daddy High. Well, I appreciate you taking time out to come in on my show, and I kind of want to have you back in the future and see what kind of different things you got going on, and shoot, maybe we'll work together in the future, bro. Like we're always looking for new stuff to do for promotions. That would be
Love it.
cool.
Let's make it happen.
Right on. We'll shakas for the cameras. Right on. We're out. Shout out to the Irish Groove Network. Aloha.